Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
They did not profile like a 10-win team. They profiled like 7-win type teams. I can't wait to let 18 to 22-year-olds emotionally ruin me.
I made a call, to Vegas. I said, look, we actually need the paper here.
All right, everyone, welcome again to Bruce and the Bear, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook, the best place to bet touchdowns this season. This week, new customers, you bet $5 to get $200 back instantly in bonus bets. Download the Sportsbook app, use the code BEARBETS. That's promo code BEARBETS. 2 words when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. All right, Bruce, here we are again. Same time, same place, different week. Well, different place, actually. This week, we're out in Salt Lake, Utah. Over the next 25 minutes or so, half hour or so, we're going to take you through the big storylines, the movers, the shakers, the lines. Sam Beal join us with all the big line moves and whatever else. So, Bruce, I'm going to let you decide where you want to take the show away.
Bear, I'd like to take it to where I'm kind of jealous of you guys and my old Big Noon crew that you're in Salt Lake City. I think this is to me the most intriguing matchup of the weekend. You got a great atmosphere there at the Muss. They always get loud and rowdy in Salt Lake City. Beautiful place to be. Now we have a Texas Tech team. They're ranked 17th against Utah, ranked 16th. And when I look at Texas Tech, obviously they've been dominant, but they haven't played anybody. Utah really hasn't either. When I look at the Texas Tech D-line, they spent a lot of money, well over $5 million in the portal. David Bailey, defensive end from Stanford, huge recruit. A lot of people wanted him. Texas Tech got him. Romello Height, he's played all over the country at Auburn and USC and Georgia Tech. And now he's the other bookend guy. Those guys have been getting after people, but now they got a huge test. Probably the best offensive tackle tandem in the country plays for the Utes. You got a dynamic running quarterback in Devin Dampier. The other side of it, Baron Morton, Texas Tech, for all the money they spent, they believe they had the right guy with Baron Morton. They didn't try to upgrade. He's been very prolific, but I worry that they are going to be too one-dimensional against this physical Utah team on the road. Remember, at the beginning of the year, their USC transfer, Quentin Joyner, he got hurt out for the season. So I don't know if they have enough in the run game. And seeing that the spread, Utes are only a 3.5-point favorite, Bear. I was surprised it's not a big number. What do you think of that number?
Yeah, so I mean, essentially, they're telling you these teams are basically equally matched, and you're getting a little bit of a home field nudge for the Utes. I have no idea what to expect here. The only thing that I think that would surprise me tomorrow is if Utah completely blew out Texas Tech. We had Joey McGuire on Bear Bets earlier this week, and he talked about like Morton's experience and the chip on his shoulder, and how that really affected them. And I asked him about like what are some of the surprises that either you had or your team or the fans are going to be surprised. And he was so honest about how you mentioned some of the guys they brought in up front about how good they've been up front on both sides of the ball. That was something that he had mentioned, and it's going to present some problems trying to defend Dampier in this offense, because he mentioned that Dampier really reminded him a lot of Kyler Murray in that position. So unfortunately, I don't have a bet in this game, but I think the way you might want to look at it long term would be, who do you like in this game moving forward? Who do you like in this conference moving forward? It's probably a good time to bet either Texas Tech or Utah to win the Big 12, depending on what side you like, because the price on this on your team will obviously go down should they win on Saturday.
All right, Bear. Another top 20 matchup. Illinois, number 9 at number 19, Indiana. Illinois thumped Duke, although Duke was really self-imploded. 3 turnovers by Mensa when they were at home against the Illini. Indiana's blown out everybody they played. They haven't played anybody yet, though. Interesting quarterback matchup here. Luke Altmaier has played very well. He's continued to develop since he's been at Illinois. And then on the other side, you got Fernando Mendoza. I think he's a big upgrade from what they had last year. And they were good at the position, but he came from Cal. He has been really impressive, on point. You can see why NFL scouts are really intrigued by him. The way Illinois has really made a lot of their success has been they don't have a lot of weaknesses, and it's almost like they force you into mistakes. They're waiting for you to kind of screw it up. That certainly happened at Duke. I don't think that's going to happen at Indiana.
Sure did.
We saw a lot of the Hoosiers last year. They're really good. I know they're a 6.5-point favorite. That's a pretty big number, I thought, given how good Illinois has been really for the last year and a half. I like Indiana here. Am I crazy to like Indiana?
It's bigger than we thought. And Sammy P and Jeff were talking about this on the show earlier in the week about how his power ratings had it much closer. But at the same time, we've bet against Illinois against Western Michigan last week. They scored 21 points in the fourth quarter, whatever it was, covered the game. 5 turnovers Duke gave them, covered that game, even though you could make a case that that game was clearly much closer than the final score indicated. It's weird because it's one of those games that the spread has kept moving away from Illinois, despite a lot of people liking Illinois in this game. So it's almost like the books are inviting money on Illinois, kind of saying, okay, you want to bet the dog, have at it, bet the dog, which interprets to me that they feel like Indiana is the right side here. Illinois got a bunch of points in the fourth quarter. You mentioned last year and how with Big Noon, we saw the Hoosiers quite a bit. This game kind of reminds me a little bit of remember when we went there for the Nebraska game last year and people were still on the fence, but is Indiana really good? And this could be Nebraska's time, a big moment, a live underdog on and the game was over like that. It was a blowout. Kind of has that like feel entering like I'm done betting against Illinois for now. Illinois wins tomorrow. Illinois wins next week against USC. I'm all on board with Illinois.
Fair enough. All right, the last of the top 25 games, it's kind of the Jackson Arnold comes home game where Auburn, number 22, goes to Oklahoma. Interesting quarterback matchup here. The subplot is Jackson Arnold and John Mateer, who's been dynamite for the Sooners, and he was an unrecruited guy who was committed to Central Arkansas, an FCS program. Jackson Arnold was the 5-star guy in the same district. Jackson Arnold's high school coach
Central Arkansas, the Bears.
Yeah, well, he also liked John Mateer, and he told all the college coaches, you need to go recruit this guy. He can play at a bigger level. Eventually, Washington State bought in, and Oklahoma liked him so much that basically here's the answer because Jackson Arnold struggled. Now, Jackson Arnold has shown some things in Hugh Freeze's offense, looked pretty good, certainly running the football at Baylor in the opener. They have weapons around them. Cam Coleman is a big-time player. They have a pretty good running game. Obviously, it's a road test, and I'm looking going, all right, can anybody stop John Mateer in this Ben Arbuckle offense? Well, if anybody can, the guy to watch here for me is Keldrick Bach. Big recruit, freaksless guy, big, long, explosive edge guy for Auburn. If he's a legit top 10 pick, you want to see him dominate because OU has had some issues at the offensive tackle spot. Guys have been in and out of the lineup. I think he can have a big game and kind of give Mateer some problems. As much as my head is telling me to pick Oklahoma and John Mateer, my gut is saying, Hugh Freeze has won a bunch of games as an underdog on the road, starting with in Tuscaloosa when his Ole Miss team beat Alabama, and he did it at Liberty a few times. I feel like this is a sneaky spot for Hugh Freeze to shock some people.
I like Auburn a lot in this game. Took a little money line, took them on the line as well. Spread line moved down from 7 to 6.5. Now I'd still take it at 6.5. But you're right about Auburn. They really haven't needed to use Coleman and Singleton yet because their running game has been so dominant and going to Waco and running right through Baylor, and Baylor wasn't able to stop them. It's interesting too because the odds makers I think continually are overrating Oklahoma and Venables in this role. Like if you look at the games in Oklahoma where he's been a favorite in a conference game by single digits, they're 2-7 both straight up and against the numbers. So not only are they not covering, they're losing these games more often than not. So is Mateer and Arbuckle, is that combo finally like the kryptonite to break that poor spell that they've had? I like Auburn quite a bit, and this is the beginning, obviously, of that brutal stretch for the Sooners, where every single one of their conference opponents are ranked. I'm glad you hit on Oklahoma and that offensive line, because I remember a couple of weeks ago against Michigan how we talked about, and you mentioned they were going to get guys back. You expected more out of Ott, and it just wasn't there. Like we didn't see it. So can Mateer continue to be used the way he is and make it through this SEC schedule? I don't know. Do we think we're going to see more from Ott, and they're going to be better on the O-line tomorrow?
You got to hope so, because you can only lean on your quarterback so much. And now he's in the SEC. He's not playing that Washington State schedule anymore. I mean, he's a big, strong guy. He's kind of thick like Baker, but I mean, you worry about him holding up as much carries as he gets, as much as he runs the ball and scrambles. So interesting. I'm fascinated by that one too. Speaking of guys who really carry the load, let's bring in Sammy P for the walkthrough every week. He is our go-to guy with all the intel from the sports books. Sammy P, make us smarter.
Thanks, Bruce. I'll get you that $50 bill for that very nice introduction. You know me, I am digging
worth
for
100,
garbage
Sammy.
to find out. To find out about quarterbacks, and LaNorris Sellers is the biggest name on my list this week, and it's been a very fascinating story and line move to follow. So on Monday, when news looked bad, and he was clearly concussed on Saturday against Vandy, we're seeing lines in Vegas hit Mizzou minus 14. Big number. But there's been positivity ever since, and now they're saying he's likely to play, barring a setback. I love that middle ground. Let's play both sides on this one. He could play, but he might have a setback. I had one bookmaker in Vegas tell me he has no effing idea if Sellers is going to play. Here's what happened, though. When we got to 14, all the Sellers news comes out, and then they bet it down. It did get as low as 8.5, Bear. Mizzou minus 8.5. At which point, there were these hungry hyenas waiting to pounce on Mizzou at 8.5, 9, 9.5. We're now sitting at 10. So some wise guys have South Carolina plus the big numbers. Other wise guys have Mizzou minus the little numbers.
Sammy P, the one thing I had heard, I had texted a source on the South Carolina staff, and I was like, do you think he's going to play? And all I got back was, we're optimistic. Well, I don't know how to read that either, because if you look at their schedule, it becomes a really big gauntlet in the next couple of weeks. But this is a tough spot with him or without him. I just feel like because he runs so much, I would argue that he's probably the most valuable player on any like top 25-ish team, because he carries the offense. The receivers aren't great. The O-line's just okay. The run game's nothing special. It's him. You know, he's a big, powerful guy with a lot of speed. He's a smart kid. He's got big play capabilities. But I don't know if Shane Beamer and them look at it and go, hey, it's totally up to you. My guess is he's going to really try to play, because there aren't a lot of easy wins. I'm not saying at Mizzou is, but I think this is one of the more winnable games they're going to have over the rest of the stretch in the ACC. So my hunch was, man, if there's any way he can play, he's going to get out there. All right, Sammy P, interesting matchup in South Florida. Florida reeling 1-2 goes to the Canes. The Canes have been rolling. Obviously, they smashed USF. Spread's only 7.5-point favorite, Sammy P. That's surprising to me. Is it surprising to you?
A little bit, but the wise guys who bet Florida last week are just betting them again this week. They love everything north of 7. We did see a push on Miami, got out to 9 on Thursday, and there was still that resistance on Florida. So there is an appetite for people that know what they're doing to bet Florida. Here's what I can tell you about how Vegas views Miami. Coming into the season, odds makers had them about the 10th best team in the country. Now they're about 5. So everybody's sort of catching up from a power rating standpoint. The problem, though, is when this team goes out and dominates against South Florida, already with a win against Notre Dame in pocket, then the public starts to catch on. And tell me how already Miami has gone from this prove-it-to-me team to the number 1 bet this weekend at BetMGM. Miami minus the points, Bear. What could go wrong there?
Yeah. As we know, it's been such a great indicator so far that the 3 weeks, each of those 5 biggest ticket counts of the week are combined 2 and 13. I think it's Oklahoma 1 and then Miami 2. So we feel really good about that. But I don't see it here with Florida. I like the team total under 21.5. I don't think Lagway is fully healthy. I could see this maybe turning into if Florida does lose on Saturday, you hear rumblings in the offseason about he's going to eventually need shoulder surgery. Does he maybe get that done once their national title hopes are kind of out and done? It'll be interesting to see, Bruce, because not only Lagway, you got Banks is hurt. You're hearing reports about Sapp being hurt. But as a Miami guy, and I know you are as well, this is the type of game that really worries me for what Sammy was saying. Nothing on the field really concerns me. Like if you look at the matchups, I think Miami's in a good spot. It's everything that Nick Saban joked about with the rat poisoning. It's the emotions of the game. It's the Florida rallying around. Defense played well enough to win last week. Hearing about how your quarterback stinks, your coach is getting fights. All of that intangible noise around the game that has me worried. But like once they get on the field, I think it's going to be pretty clear who the better team is.
Yeah, and I think, Bear, that Miami's defensive line right now is playing with such a ferocity. They're getting after people. They're setting the tone. This is Mario Cristobal's like type of team in terms of the physicality. And as you said, Tyreek Sapp is to me a lot like Ruben Bain, who right now Ruben Bain is playing like the best defensive lineman, maybe the best defensive player in the country. He is a tone setter. If they don't have Sapp or Sapp's not close to 100%, I think Miami's just going to maul them. Again, they have a good D line in Gainesville, but they're pretty banged up right now. And the way Miami's playing, I feel like they're playing with a ton of confidence, and I would worry right now that Florida's reeling from everything going on around them. The stuff you alluded to about DJ Lagway, I would be concerned if I was a Gators fan. It's not just how healthy is he for games. It's like how many reps is he getting in practice? It's just limited. I think you're seeing some stuff that is concerning, right? And I feel like the buzzards are circling in Gainesville. This is much different than it was this time last year when they played hard for Billy Napier, and I think there was a better feel for the team and probably better leadership on the team right now. We had Graham Mertz, more experience. He wasn't a great quarterback, but he seemed to be a really good leader. I just feel like right now Florida seems pretty rudderless.
Remember the Miami-Washington game in 2001, the year after Miami went to UW in Dorsey's first road start, and they got behind and struggled and lost. Following year, 65-7 at the Orange Bowl. Like that was the most insane Orange Bowl crowd, bloodthirsty crowd. Hopefully it'll be that way at Hard Rock on Saturday night.
Yeah, that'll be a rough day for the Gators and Billy Napier if that crowd shows up. Old OB was much different than Hard Rock, but Hard Rock has been pleasant surprise, I think, for Miami fans, and when you hear how loud it actually is from visiting teams. Different kind of vibe. Sammy Hugh, we talked about Illinois at Indiana. Bear and I kind of weighed in on it. What are you seeing in this matchup?
This has been one of the craziest lines of the entire week. So Circa in Vegas opened this about Indiana -5. The initial bites came in on Illinois, took the points. Since limits have gone up, though, it's been one-way Indiana traffic. Now, the public, the small tickets on Illinois. But tell me how, if you thought 5 was big, how about 6, 6.5? And as we tape this right now, Circa Sports in Las Vegas has Indiana -7. Bear, we have reached 7 on
That's
the Hoosiers.
ridiculous. Yeah, that feels like a real ridiculous move, and they are inviting the money on the Hoosiers, who have been undefeated against the number so far this year, Bruce.
Always something, buddy. All right, so let's get into the 2-minute warning. We're going to start at a game that probably most people aren't going to pay much attention to because it involves Sam Houston. But it involves Texas and Sam Houston, and it involves Arch Manning. What is up with him? I got to admit, last week we were in a long weather delay that involved Texas Tech in Lubbock. And so we were filling in the studio for about an hour and a half. I came back out of the green room and I was like, somebody's like, Arch Manning's like 3 for 15. I was like, they're playing UTEP. How is this happening? Well, obviously we know there's all sorts of theories on what's going on with Arch. Was his shoulder close to 100% coming out of training camp? Maybe, maybe not. Has he lost confidence? What's going on? Does he have the yips? I talked to somebody on Monday inside the program who was like, hey, yes, he's struggling, but I think he's going to be fine. You're going to see it. People are going to see what everybody here is buying inside the program. And they can make all sorts of give sorts of explanations / excuses maybe. I don't know. Too many people I trust down there are believing that the guy that everybody's, hyper analyzing now, they think he's still really special. So, this may be a game. I don't know. If he goes 15 of 18, I'm not sure it's going to prove much, but I'm not getting off the Arch bandwagon at this point. Am I crazy?
Yeah, they do need him to have a good game though as they head into the Red River game in a couple of weeks. I think they have Ole Miss, I think, coming up as well. Like there are some juicy numbers out there, Sammy. If you want to bet on Texas to miss the playoff, if you assume maybe they lose at Georgia and they drop one more, hey, are you interested in taking any of that plus money right now?
They are still rated very highly by odds makers, despite all this public vitriol and the rush to say that Arch is this and Arch is that. They still have the 4th highest power rating, and they're one of the top teams to win the national title. Here's what I've heard about Texas. There is a growing rift between Sark and Kyle Flood, the O-line coach. Those two are apparently butting heads in practice like crazy, so that'll be something to pay attention to once Texas gets to the cakewalk part of its schedule.
Well, another team that was in the playoff last year, thought to be a title contender, lost to the eventual national champion, Ohio State, lost to Georgia last week in a really incredible game with incredible plays from both quarterbacks, and finally decided in overtime. Tennessee against UAB. Again, you're not really paying much attention to a game like UAB and Tennessee, but handicappers can maybe use a little bit of history in this one to kind of maybe lay the points here with the Vols. If you look at the 4 previous instances under Josh Heupel, where they have lost to Tennessee, or rather lost to Georgia, the following week they've come back and won by a combined score of 230-62, and the 2 opponents that were non-SEC teams, they beat 60-14 and 56-0. So good luck for Trent Dilfer and UAB up at Neyland tomorrow. I'm sure there will be a Tennessee will be licking their chops and looking to get back on the right side of the win column. So hopefully we've given you some information to get you and your team on the right side of the win column. Everybody enjoy the weekend. Appreciate you tuning in on our YouTube channel, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Remember to rate, review, subscribe. For Sammy, for Bruce, I'm Bear. Lucky Bet, where you lose to win.